Fit no longer with the team. Still playing Rumble over in the EU LCS, but confused as to why not all his games end in a win.
Yeah, just this is odd.
New feeling for him. ROX Tigers will ban Syndra on blue side. Faker hasn't got his hands on the Syndra too often, but is formidable on that particular pick. Trying to force something, it feels like. Tigers just looking to see what they can get at first pick, potentially for Mighty Bear, or maybe even in another lane. I wonder how high Orianna will be in priority, given that Mickey has been playing it almost exclusively in recent times.
Well, we know Faker is more than happy to take that one himself, so could see that as a snatch up if it makes it through towards that second round of picks. And Caitlyn's going to be the final one as they ban that away from Songyun.
That means Galio comes through, and
okay.
Mickey is 2-0 on Galio this season. In a struggling team, that is a relevant statistic, and Galio went to that big winning streak in mid lane of 11 games in a row. For it has been thwarted a couple of times recently, so SKT playing a bit on hard mode. I actually don't mind leaving open strong picks when you have a big match coming up, because even just beating the ROX Tigers with Galio in the mid lane is still going to be another top-level learning experience for them.
Well, Lee Sin coming through here for Blank. Has 4 wins on it so far in summer. Could be looking to make that 5. As he keeps pushing forward, and yet fully expecting that Galio to be in the mid lane. So Faker says, screw it, just give me the Cassiopeia right here.
Could be a flex as a result of that, but we've seen quite a few picks work into Galio. Victor for the scaling pick has been a recent one. Cassiopeia, especially early, which honestly, SKT can run away with the game early, but before the first item purchase, Galio has a hell of a time doing anything in that lane, as most melee versus Cassiopeia matchups go.
Shield of Durand only gets you so far, but Gragas will be taken. So still, some flexibility here for the ROX Tigers. There's always that outside chance that this Galio goes down to key as support, so never really know where it's going to end up. They can kind of move it around in their composition to react to this Cassiopeia pick.
Orianna pick into the Cassiopeia would be a nice laning matchup for Mickey.
Yeah.
Feels weird again to talk about the Ori, given that Galio is locked in, and it's Mickey, who used to never play Orianna until this season.
Okay, well, there we go. Renekton, very early on the draft, will be taken through here for the ROX Tigers. So surprisingly, no bottom lane focus yet. And SKT, maybe they even just wait a little bit longer. Maybe they just go ahead and draft a top laner and try to avoid some bans out on Antara.
You could also just take the school of thought of picking what you want and banning strong champions against it. This season, Bang has been no fun. Varus and Ashe only, basically.
Hooray.
For the majority of the split, we'll be jumping on the Ashe. Ashe's been deprioritized in many of our recent games. People have been looking at Xayah, for example, and other laners. Songyun has played some Xayah, but his Kalista is the one that was tearing up the solo queue charts. And to really explain to viewers, how ROX Tigers have changed, they largely play around Songyun in summer season. It's not been the Mickey-focused team on Assassins or 1v1 duelists. It's been basically a team empowering Songyun to do work. We remember them running 4 tanks and a Kog'Maw in that series against Afrika.
Yeah.
So whether it was Kog'Maw or Kalista, they've been very lane-focused and trying to get Songyun into the late game, which is a lot when you're laning against Bang and Wolf. So Varus banned away, trying to get Songyun onto something a bit more risky. Will they ban the Kalista, though, which is certainly a possibility for Songyun?
Yeah, that was always one of his favorites. Think back to even spring 2016 was one of the big piloters of that pick. But it's going to be the Xayah and Varus, so still just focusing out on Songyun entirely. So SKT, as you say, identify that Songyun is the carry force for the ROX Tigers, and they want to shut him down.
Thresh has gone pretty deep down pick and ban. It's been Key's most played champion this season, but again, when you've played it the most and your team hasn't won a lot, it's not a fantastic win-loss on that pick. Wolf has mostly been focusing on the disengage where possible. Bit of laning focus with the Lulu, but Braum at 3-0 is Tahm Kench 3-0.
Well, you mentioned the Lulu. Will be taken away.
Tahm Kench doesn't really have a lot of value against what's selected by the Tigers. Especially Galio and Gragas. Tahm Kench can be bullied by them a lot. Could still go there, but this is not the draft where it's strong, as Antara might be moving on to a pick that we've seen many top laners consider, but not locked in that often. He'll actually be going for the Shen, interestingly, just a sustained matchup into the Renekton, but accepting that they could be pushed in. If Galio gets going or gets a bit of coverage, he'll also have some quick push, so pushing power on the side of ROX, and maybe it's back to the 4 tanks and a Kog'Maw.
see it come through. Karma not available. Almost said that she was, but yeah, that was banned away by the ROX Tigers as well as the Lulu. So not that much protection available unless they want to draft the Orianna, but it's really only one source of shielding.
Looks like it may, in fact, be the Galio mid lane as we first suspected. Orianna was an outside chance of flexing the Galio to bot lane. Unless... Oh, they played with our hearts there. I saw the Kassadin. Thought maybe Mickey would return to his roots, but seeming unlikely.
Just playing around with our hearts. But Tahm Kench, the long hover makes sense. You have that Ashe pick coming through, just snatch him up, try to get him out of there. But it's actually going to be the Thresh at the last second, so heavy reliance on that Dark Passage.
It's also a bit more laning presence. Thresh, a better laner than Tahm Kench, especially early. SKT sees a draft like this, and one of the ways you can attack it is just lane swapping or mercilessly bullying the bot lane and stopping Kog'Maw from ever hitting good item timings, because Kog'Maw is one of the central factors for this particular draft. So maybe attacking the Kog'Maw or lane swapping on the Renekton, taking down his turret, taking down a Rift Herald. There's many ways to play around what ROX wants to do until Kog'Maw hits 5-6 items, and SKT don't intend to see those days come out on the Rift.
Yeah, not at all. Faker, expecting him to be as oppressive as humanly possible. We saw what he could do with his Cassiopeia versus the likes of Maple versus his fellow mid laners here in LCK. So Mickey should not expect to be treated any differently from those before him.
Got a history between Mickey and Faker. The famous comment of Faker needs to practice more in response to Faker saying same words over to Mickey. It ended up being empty words this year, but there's always the chance for a pop-off in the mid lane from one of these two.
See, those massive Galio taunts can set up, 3-4 members of SK Telecom there. If Mickey can land that, then perhaps Songyun, if he can hit his item timings, can just start ripping through and try to find a victory here for the ROX Tigers. Big uphill battle for these guys to put a win on the board. Want to hover around that mid spot for the end of this first round.
SKT's last game, or last series before the Telecom War. They just want to put this one in the books fast as possible.
All right, let's see what it's going to be on the clock when we close this one out and see who's going to be the victor. Let's go ahead, load up. Tigers versus SK Telecom T1.
We've been halted.
Aha! Surprise.
So even the crowd member was baited in that particular scenario.
Yeah, they started the cheer, and then it all got interrupted, and it sounds like the Korean commentators are having a nice little laugh over that one. As Caster John's pointing them out in the audience.
The border thing there. Seems like it's a audio issue. I imagine it's with Key, who's on screen.
Try to get this taken care of. Might have been perhaps the problem that we had before that pick and ban started up. Maybe it came back to bite us in the rear.
Well, hopefully it just means that a headset is changed, and then we'll be A-OK. There's blank, cold-blooded killer on your screen. 15-0 on the year.
Something that I would have called you a lunatic for if you had told me this back in 2016 when he first started. I mean, you think to actually the first time that ROX Tigers and SKT clashed in the spring split, went 1-1, and then SKT kind of fearing that loss, said, yeah, okay, we'll put blank in. Because if we lose, like, oh, well, we had our new player. We wanted to give him some stage experience. They swapped Bangi out. They put blank in. They did lose that series.
And then second Telecom War that week was when Prophet made his debut also in Game 3. So you're right. They have rolled the dice in the Telecom War a couple of times. Still waiting to see what they run on Tuesday. Could very well be Huni and Peanut again for Game 1 at least. In this particular game, very clear comp idea from the ROX Tigers. Very, very beefy front lines. Not quite Zach Jarvan. Oh, the intro again.
All right, go. Cheer now. All right, still one person. Okay.
I like to think the rest of the ROX Tigers fans were baited.
It's a little imbalanced, just slightly. They were outnumbered by Probably about 300 people.
Well, Linderong also noted what Smeb did earlier on the Renekton. He also will be running the Marin skin.
Showing that respect to Marin. Ooh, that's a really good drawing.
That's some sick drawings.
I hope he gets that at the end of the day. When they go down to the fan meet, I hope they give that to him. Or at least he signs it for them.
I think one of those two things will 100% happen.
I would gift it to him because that's pretty badass.
Wolf is in a bit of a party of his own. A lot of seedlings on the ground.
That's one of those things where it's like you should just make those drawings on for the players on the day, and then just sell them for like $5 outside the stadium.
Well, I think that would probably be opposed when it comes to profiting off the lightness of SK Telecom players. But I know what you're saying.
Yeah. Do I endorse it? Not necessarily, but it's probably a pretty good idea economically.
I believe your exact sentence was, you know what you should do, and then you suggested it.
If you want to make some money.
That's the exact, so it's an endorsement then.
All right, whatever. You got me. Hard leash coming through here from Mighty Bear. I'll just go ahead, scoop up that red buff. So thank you very much. Path over towards the blue.
Meanwhile, Blank doesn't get any sort of hard leash. Doesn't have a Galio mid lane, which is your best friend as a jungler.
Really nice leash on the Raptors. But no, they say, you know, you're the one that's undefeated right now. You can do this all on your own.
There's too many worries on the side of SKT. Mickey's getting towards a minion wave against Faker's Cassiopeia. That's already a mini win.
Yeah. Not getting shut out completely. Feels pretty good. But in the end, it'll just be dead even across the board, 11-11 there, so no one being denied on either side. In the meantime, Untara is having a bit of a rougher go up in that top side of the map.
Let's talk about the man of the minute. Man on your screen now, Blank, not you,
well, now it's Mighty Bear. We don't want to talk about you.
But Blank has been really impressive because he's kind of been a fusion of what people loved about Peanut, you know, on his ROX Tigers days, and even towards the end of last season on his SKT days, and also the traditional Bengi style that most junglers play on SKT, because he's been able to still be, you know, there with more reliable warding, you know, on the right side of the map where he needs to be for a counter gank or make a gank. He hasn't been going for the over-eager dives that Huni and Peanut have been guilty of. But he's also been surprisingly aggressive. Just think back to the Everate game 2, where he was ganking at level 2 into the mid lane. He's just picked his spots really smartly, but also been much more of the control jungler that Peanut just isn't natively as a player. And when both things are firing, when every champion in the meta looks like a very viable pick for Blank, compared to, what, a year ago when he was either on a super defensive farming jungler or you were worried, when everything's firing, I mean, Blank just looks like one of the world's best.
Yeah. Really has gotten the SK Telecom treatment. SKT effect just working him into shape. And Untara as well. I mean, a lot of people surprised when Untara got picked up. You know, just a solo queue player, but he's been performing very well on a team. And this is another guy that came off of CJ Entis from last year.
I think a lot of the experts in Korea were really talking more about where he will go, because Untara having 2 accounts in top 5 challenger is an insane feat. And right now, he has 3, I think, in master or higher. He has been an excellent solo queue player. Sure, he had not the best time on CJ Entis, but there's already now multiple examples of players who've stepped up from there. But it does really endorse, you know, another way to approach getting on a top pro team. He chose to take that time off. Like, we can't know for sure if he had offers that he declined, but the impression is that he wanted to better himself in solo queue. Certainly was able to do that. Got the biggest ask you could ever get in terms of being asked to join SKT. And he's 7-0 in his own right.
Yeah. He's been doing a wonderful job.
In the shade of the 15-0, but 7-0 is still a streak.
Yeah. He's doing quite nicely. Isn't that a round where Prophet made it? And then he has finally lost? I feel like it was something similar.
Got Rumble a lot of times.
And Nautilus. Every time. A little bit of trading here. Key going to go wide on that death sentence. Can't lock in Wolf, and he is going to get punished for that miss. Bang just firing away, forcing him out of the lane.
Saying goodbye to some builds also by the end of this week. Triple Doran's ring coming through from Mickey.
Thank Lord. Thank Lord. Thank the Lord.
I thought you wanted to thank Lord, the famous recording artist of our Spring 2016 song.
Thank you for, letting us use your song.
Sangyun just wave clearing. SKT have pressure in the bottom lane. Mid lane still going all right for the side of Mickey, all things considered. Only 1 CS behind, and Antara gonna be more about farming up in the early game, just trying not to get pressured in by that of Linderung.
Mickey going a bit of a walkabout here.
Well, they do have the potential to push and roam from both mid and top lane. Looking to see what they can do. The turret dive on Antara, that's a tricky one to pull off.
Yeah, not sure how they'll go about this one. The stun already comes through here. Antara just going to go ahead and flash Shadow Dash away. Linderung, I think, a couple turret shots. But this does open up for quite a bit of damage that could come through. Antara will be recalling. And does he TP back in to try to defend this?
Linderung's dominance does run out, so less likely that he would be turret dive. Finally will teleport in late. Ash was considering going top lane to try and enact a lane swap quite early after Bilgewater or BF Sword. That's usually the timing. They seem to be comfortable enough to extend the laning phase and allow Antara to go a bit longer. He actually rushed to Tiamat, so he's going to be more about wave clearing rather than being able to walk up to Linderung.
Can duel with him a little bit more than before, but yeah, just wants to try to make up for this CS deficit that he's found himself in.
The theory is that if you go Ninja Tabi and get in any way rotated on, like a turret dive attempt, it doesn't really change anything. If you go Ninja Tabi, you're going to be pushed in so hard that it's kind of irrelevant that you're a bit less likely to die. So it's for lane control. You just have to skillfully position and avoid taking excess damage. So I understand the Tiamat, even though it looks like a disrespectful choice on paper, going AD into a Renekton.
Blank looking for the invade there on the red buff. Won't be able to find it. But now has a nice wraparound opportunity. Flash forward for the root. Not going to find it. Death Sentence connects in onto Bang, but now Key in a world of trouble. The play comes through right after the resonating strike, and he has to flash away. So 3 summoner spells used in the bottom lane for the one of SK Telecom.
And because Bang was tanking aggro, able to pull the minion wave pretty well here, was Bang. Means that to keep it in a good spot. Has the Bilgewater, so not concerned about losing health. Linderung starting the proxy, and they already have this turret very low on the top side.
And a very rough spot now is Antara. So dash through, trades back quite a bit of damage here. But the turret is still suffering, and the swap is going to be enacted here by Key and Sangyun as they make their way up towards the top side of the map. So want to get the break on that first brick. And
also want to avoid a very tricky scenario where Ash is going to have arrow, and they had all 3 summoners down.
Thank you, says Mickey.
That's why they're looking for a dive here, ROX. They're going to try to zone Antara off. It will be first brick to the side of ROX Tigers.
Yeah.
They've already started their recalls, because of course it's pre-10 minutes, so there is no Rift Herald to be claimed at the same time. And it does mean that the time was wasted and the CS lead will grow for Bang, and now they will still have to lane with no summoners against Ash Zyra.
So I'll take the good with the bad. First brick does come through, gives the team an overall lead, but like you said, Bang is going to be in a nice comfortable spot where he's currently 26 CS ahead, looking to extend that even further. Won't be able to deny anything from this wave, so Sangyun will be able to get most of these back, as long as he can get the last hits in, because he does have to play respectfully to Wolf. Doesn't want to get locked down and take a bit of damage from those plants.
So tricky here for ROX with, again, no summoners. Ash Zyra with massive burst between the two. So it'd have to be very steady on the side steps. Blank is bot lane, but Mighty Bear spotted also. SKT, speaking of keeping tabs, own the vision in the red side jungle of ROX Tigers, so Mighty Bear gets called away as well.
Yeah, Blank's just going to go ahead and start up this dragon. They see Mighty Bear coming over, so they are prepared for this. Do they just want to peel off or pull it out? Seems like with Faker arriving, they're going to go ahead and commit into this one. Mickey could arrive with the hero's entrance.
He's a really high-value Drake getting mounted with Cassiopeia and Blade the Ruin King Ash.
Mighty Bear is already into the pit. Does he want to play forward? The rest of the squad is here. Antara ready to go with the stand united. Ash Arrow comes through, and he actually gets it. Mighty Bear takes this one away, pays for this one with his life, but finds the steal.
Hey, usually a kill for a Drake is an interesting trade to evaluate. Denying Mountain from SKT's specific comp is of pretty high value. If Mighty Bear didn't use his flash, you might have said worth, but using his flash makes it...
This is true. A lot of gank pressure now alleviated.
Smite not working for Blank, who's been very on point with those in recent times. But SKT not going to be too big of an objective to give up, all things considered.
Mickey looking to trade here on Faker. Gets quite a bit of damage down. Knocks him to about half, and Linderong was with the roam. So Faker just going to cheat back down through the river, wrap around, and catch these minions.
Mickey already sitting on a mountain of magic resist.
Yep.
Given that Faker will have to focus on his building block items like the Rod of Ages, the Void Staff is still a long way away. Probably just going to be a farm fest for Faker and try to find any champion that isn't Mickey in a team fight with his damage rotations.
ROX, they're going to start up this Rift Herald here. Mighty Bear maybe going to solo this one out.
So interestingly, the ward over was spotted by Untara, so he's pretty confident that Mighty Bear is on this Rift Herald, but no response from Faker and Blank, who just seem to want to keep working around the weak bottom lane from ROX. And I don't mind this decision because we already said it's about hitting gold values for the Kog'Maw for this comp to make sense. If he does no damage, the team will struggle, and Kog'Maw is going to fall further behind. Going to recall now, try to group with the team, and the Rift Herald buff that Mighty Bear's just about to complete.
Yep. We'll come through, see which part of the map they want to open up with this. Could be the bottom lane where they've been struggling, or maybe they just want to shatter the mid and try to take control over this topside jungle.
Taking Cassiopeia's turret is always a big thing because she doesn't really have the ability to find safe spots. If you push her in, and then she shoves pretty slowly, so you're able to, from there, quite comfortably rotate around the Cassiopeia and have her second to every action. Speaking of being second, here's the ROX Tigers.
And Blank, like it's the red buff, and seems like Mighty Bear still not that interested in taking this one away. Wolf was out of lane, so they know that he was roaming up towards the mid. So very easily could have turned the tide. And there's also that Stand United that you have to keep tabs of.
It's another game where the unfancied team has a gold lead early. It's obviously nothing to write home about at just 300. But SKT have been focusing all their resources on shutting down the bot lane by invading mercilessly on this red side.
Hook will connect in on a Blank. Do they want to pursue this? The answer is going to be no. So Songyun cheating forward, but even then, it's just not enough. And Rift Herald's actually going to be used for this tier 2 up in the top lane where Untara, he's all by himself. Nobody else is nearby. They might actually lose this inner turret.
It's with no minion wave, but remember the backdoor decrease in damage or increase in tankiness on the turret doesn't apply when the Rift Herald goes in, so they will get the inner turret, Kilios.
Yeah, not looking great here, so they do go ahead, take that one down. Tier 1 being focused by SK Telecom on the bottom side of the map. We'll be able to find this as Untara finishes off that Rift Herald before it can get a charge in onto the inhib turret. But yeah, ROX Tigers, good movements around the map. They maintain a very slight gold lead, but now have that top side very much opened up.
It is opened up, but the question is, can you return to the top lane and profit from how much pressure you've created with the minions pushed in? Because suddenly, Renekton's going to be hopelessly overextended if he tries to meet a minion wave. Shen can just clear waves with his Tiamat and join, and actually profiting off such an early inner turret is surprisingly difficult to perform. It almost feels like you go back to where the Flame Horizon term first came, when it was Ignite Shyvana in the top lane, freezing around this area. And while it won't be freezing, growing leads in that side can be really difficult to engineer, and SKT seem to be happy to give up immediate gold to the side of ROX Tigers and just continue to settle on trying to keep Kog'Maw as far down as possible.
So far, so good in that regard. Blade of the Rune King completed for both of these ADCs. So Songyun, maybe looking for a second item. QSS has the Null Magic Mantle there in the inventory.
Big advantage for ROX Tigers. It's around vision in the red side jungle of SKT, but that only gets them Baron. And I think SKT are confident that Baron will not be an objective for the ROX Tigers anytime soon.
I mean, it's also 5 minutes away, so plenty of time for that vision to expire and to clear out that one control ward that is sitting in there. So SKT in that regard are in a very nice position.
And the only reason you bring it up at this early time is because you think about what double turrets in a side lane offers. With the minion waves pushing in, it does let them walk into the red side a lot. But like you say, a thought for another time.
Well, that's going to be the root coming through. Ash arrow thrown down as well, and Mickey's going to get kicked in. The taunt will connect on the two members, but Bang is still firing away. Faker arriving at the last second. The toss had Miasma to get a nice little assist, but the kill goes over to Bang. 2-0 here for SK Telecom, and they take the gold lead.
Yes. Basically, Mickey playing in one of the few areas where ROX Tigers don't have an advantage, so SKT happy to turn on him. No advanced vision in that area means that he overextends, even as a super tanky adaptive helm already complete Galio.
Now it's all going to come down to these next 30 seconds before that Infernal Drake spawns. See ROX really heavily prioritizing, trying to get some vision control here. Faker trying to zone them back, but he is a lone snake lady. And there's nothing more he can really do by himself. Needs the pressure of others to help take control over this spot.
Infernal Drake about to spawn. That one is going to be something contested. Necton hasn't been able to push up to the inhibitor turret, so not going to be that much pressure on Untara, who will be able to leave with the level 2 stand united pretty comfortably. Watching the mid lane here, just trading a farm, but it's the calm before the storm, and the storm is represented on that map by the Infernal Drake.
Just trying to zone him back. Infernal is up, has been leashed out of the pit. Mighty Bear already coming up with 1 steal. Can he replicate it here a second time?
Ward behind, so that's the teleport.
TP's coming through. Infernal Drake does get finished off. Faker now turning in onto Linderong. The stun comes down. He throws out the Petrifying Gaze. A lot of damage in onto the Renekton as he dashes out. Mickey comes in with that hero's entrance. Justice punch in onto Blank. The taunt not going to find anything because he was rooted down. But seems like SKT happy to go their separate ways. They got the TP out, only had to invest the stand united. And they get the Infernal Drake.
Yeah, the stand united probably didn't need to be used in hindsight, but it also caused the full disengage from the ROX Tigers. When they saw a challenge, here's the engage.
Body slam, bang, with a very nice flash. The backside of that explosive cast takes himself out to safety, so not going to get caught this time. So very nicely done by him. To remain deathless for the moment, but will be that much more susceptible now.
ROX Tigers managing the top side, got them. As Mickey thinking about the flash, gets it.
The flash in, hook lands in onto Blank. He goes low, almost goes down, but they still haven't finished him off. In the meantime, Stranglethorns get the pop up in onto Mickey. He gets taunted right away after Antara arrives off the backside of the teleport. Faker still firing away the Twin Fangs into the rears of ROX Tigers, and they'll just lose 2 off this.
He engages too far away from his DPS threats, and crucially, Akila, as we mentioned a couple of times, the big loser in the early game was Songyun, who doesn't have the damage to actually profit from such a big engage. Just Blade the Ruin King isn't a damage timing to allow him to take advantage of the big engage from Mickey. So ROX Tigers kind of misunderstanding where they're strong. We'll see the replay. Mickey's alone, going super, super deep, and sure, he launches himself in, but if you watch Songyun's contribution, it's 2 auto attacks, and then he starts walking away because he's zoned. He knows that Mickey's life is being given in vain. It's not Mickey dying slowly as Kog'Maw is free hitting with the Hurricane, with the Blade of the Ruin King. It's 1 item Kog'Maw. No ability to take advantage of that. Back to the drawing board for the ROX Tigers.
Nicely done here by SK Telecom, finally growing a lead for themselves. Nearly 2,000 up at the moment, and now have that Infernal Drake in their back pocket, which just makes Faker that much scarier as the item scalings continue. 4 stacks on that Dark Seal. Don't think we're going to be seeing it onto a Medjai's, but you never know. It's Faker. Could happen. Either way, the tiers going through in the Rod of Ages has already been completed, so the stacks will be rolling in for that as well. So everything seeming to be on pace for him in the mid lane, and Bang is still just having a go of it as far as his 1v1 is considered against the enemy ADC.
And Songyun has already had to slow down his build and build a QSS, which really, with this particular team comp, I'm not a big fan of. He has so many people in front of him to tank arrows, and also Key, who can just hang back instead of looking for an engage hook. That I don't really see QSS being what the team needs. They desperately need something like a Hurricane or just a Zeal item being completed. As Blank's invading, it's onto Mighty Bear. Won't actually get the kill, but like you say, Dark Passage, but a blue buff stolen away from Mickey.
Nicely done. I don't think Mickey is going to be that worried about being denied the blue buff, but still just a nice takeaway here for SKT as they continue to work their way forward. I mean, it was a decent-looking start for the ROX Tigers, but now starting to slip up. SKT turning on.
Yes, the areas where ROX Tigers gained advantages were areas that, like kind of we were speculating, are very difficult to get more from. They have never been able to push the minions into the top lane inhibitor, not a realistic objective for them to attack. And did they have the latitude to give up the Drakes, which were the early objective, and also farm onto the Kog'Maw and make this comp work? And sure, there is still a reality where they do, but first instinct is that no, probably was too much of a cost. A couple of overextensions playing around Vision bot side, which is not what they gained with the Rift Herald, and all the top side play have meant that SKT have all the kills this game. It's kind of surreal that the Tigers have been ahead for the majority, but still haven't picked up a #1 in that column.
Oh, that's going to be the Ash Arrow out here from Bang. Flash forward and finds Strangledorn's thrown down. Mickey's still very tanky, just as punches himself away, but Blank comes in on the backside, kicks him into the wall, and will finish him off with that Sonic Wave Resonating Strike combo. Meantime, though, ROX not wasting any time, moving for the mid lane, trying to get some damage down onto this. Did not take the turret, but Faker's here to try to defend. Death Sentence way off on the side. And Faker clears out the minions, but one more wave. This could go down. Actually, Mighty Bear will just take this one up. Petrifying Gaze not going to find anything as Faker flashes in. The Explosive Cast knocks him in, and he very well may go down. A couple more hits will finish him off. He does go down in the end, but it's still going to be the 2-for-1 as Untara picks up the double kill.
Yeah, Faker happy to walk up, buy time, had trust in Untara coming through on the stand United, may have given up his life.
And the turret did not go down.
Exactly, leaves the turret up. They go 3-for-1 in the trade.
Wow.
Faker was very likely to die in that scenario, but think about it. If he didn't die, if he had got a pick and got out, could have even been Baron to SKT after those particular picks.
Well, nicely done there by Faker. Pays for that with his life, but still holds on to the turret. 107 HP on that. So Morellonomicon finished for him, just working his way, getting stronger and stronger as time goes on. And the gold lead just keeps on moving forward, inching ahead, nearly 3,000 now here at the 22-minute mark. So definitely not the largest lead that we've seen for SKT at this point, but ROX, they had the early game, and now they're paying for it. Ash Arrow comes out, not going to find anything. That's actually just connect in, but the kick knocks back Songyun. Resonating Strike not followed through from Blank. Has to get himself out of there, and actually they're going to turn in onto Wolf. They take him down.
And good timing. Actually, the decision to go in from ROX Tigers was smart because they knew that Stand United was on cooldown. Cassiopeia was walking to bot lane, so it was even better than ROX Tigers expected. This turret will go down, of course. Would have gone down to a stiff breeze. But ROX, in one of the few moments where they could make a proactive move and not have a reaction from SKT, make the right decision. And another sign that, sure, likely to go down this game, but there's still something about the ROX Tigers to separate them from the pack.
Faker's trying to solo out this Cloud Drake. The rest of ROX starting to pile their way down. Miasma thrown in. And there it is, right in time. Last second before that Twin Fang connected. Mighty Bear does come up with a second steal. This time in about a 1v1 against the Cassiopeia, who does not have Smite, but still picks up the Cloud Drake. And that's 2 stacks for the Elder over to the ROX Tigers. Tara will go ahead and chip away at that turret and finish it off. So now all of the outers except for the mid have fallen. SKT going to be looking for that one soon.
And I really like that you bring up the Elder, because the Elder will be when finally Songyun will have some items. Because right now, finding a site to fight at in 15 minutes is relevant for ROX. Songyun is so far behind after going QSS, being down in CS, being left on an island despite being the only threat, that he needs the time desperately, and that's why SKT is like, let's fight for everything right now before Songyun has any items.
The Scry Orb's coming through, and they saw Linderong on the bottom lane. They know that he doesn't have teleport, so they feel more than happy to start this one up. Tara goes forward. Mickey comes up with a massive taunt, and now Songyun just free firing away, comes up with the first kill as Wolf goes down. He does get popped up, takes a lot of damage from the plants, but SKT are sent scattering. They want to try to turn this one around. Linderong getting ready to arrive at the fight. Another taunt coming through here from Mickey, finds 2 members. Linderong's on the backside. Blank trying to lifesteal his way back up off the red buff. Flash away from Untara. Might not even take him out the safety. Gets the taunt in on the Linderong. The stun comes through. They will let him go his separate way. But that was a massive turnaround for the ROX Tigers, and all of it really on the backside of Mickey with that huge taunt.
Looking for another taunt onto Bang, who skirts around the AoE. He's going to ult out of it. They actually turn onto Baron here. Not a lot of vision from SKT. They only have the Scuttle Crab vision.
Tara comes back in here with the TP, gets latched in onto Songyun. He goes low. One more
DPS
shot would take him down, but they're just trying to keep him gated out. But Bang finds the first kill in onto Mickey. They take down Key. They take down Songyun, and that is a triple kill coming through. Can they find more? Will be denied the Quadra, but the ace off the backside of a big botched Baron start. SK Telecom fire right back around.
Yeah, it's really strange to see ROX Tigers make the call onto Baron. That does betray their 1 and 5 status. Speaking of turning onto Baron, maybe the trio start here from SKT as Cassiopeia comes in. ROX Tigers, they got their advantage. They could have pulled away. But after Mickey just Justice punches out, given that Bang was skirting around the AoE, it didn't need to be a Baron start. The same points are still there. Super low damage comp, low health bars after the fight. And once Untara comes in, it feels like DPS Shen, because he's able to go on the backline, everyone's squishy, and he can ignore Songyun's damage, because it's still not formidable.
Bang Just beautiful target selection, just going through, finishing off everybody. Blank nearly dies. Gets that safeguard right at the end.
Smited the Baron also for HP.
Whew. Well, beautifully done in a micro aspect by SK Telecom. Bang and Blank both keeping themselves up. And they come up with the Baron in the end, albeit a little bit delayed.
If you think back to all these bottom place teams, BBQ, ROX, Tigers, MVP, his team struggling at the bottom of the table, it always seems to be the same factor of, well, they can get ahead. You know, they have some good players, they make some good decisions, but then it gets to the point where they're like, wait, how do we win? Or where are we strong? And these are questions that it feels like all these teams kind of don't understand. They don't understand that, hey, we're strong on the top side. Let's try to do things there. Right now, that's unfortunately going to leave Songyun on an island. That's not ideal. Okay, let's just pull back, farm a bit more, try to keep the ward line strong, and get Songyun to item timings. Instead, they choose to engage at poor times, and in the end, the first engage was fine, but then they go for the Baron with very low Baron damage, low health bars, and Songyun not even primed to take it quickly, and then they end up being surprised and the Baron goes over to SKT. So you can kind of see where the fundamental failings are, but the end result is that SKT, by hook or by crook, 5,000 gold ahead.
Oh, they're going to go ahead and add a little bit more to that one, make it 6. Why not? As they finally finish off that outer turret in mid, all of those having been broken now. You can see Untara very handily taking on Linderong. Wraparound comes through here from Bang. He will get played back. Hook going to go wide yet again, but the jump in comes through. They lock him down. Songyun firing away, and the Stand United tries to keep him alive for a little bit longer, but Untara, in the end, it's just not going to be enough. Bang comes in with slightly suboptimal pathing.
Well, he went for a gank as an Ashe.
Faker.
As Faker's doing a lot of damage under the turret.
Bold for not having the Seraph's Embrace complete.
Not sure about Bang walking through an area with very limited vision to look for a gank onto a Renekton, but that's what happened. Counterpoint is that Faker was pushing in the bot lane, so they were able to get map pressure in other areas, but unnecessary death from Bang.
Yeah.
Ruins what has been otherwise a very good game for Bang.
Yeah, 4-1 and 6 his first death there. Has the QSS for himself and is still items ahead of Songyun.
Went very early into his armor penetration item, and finishing a Last Whisper item this early in the game means that even the strength of the ROX Tigers, the very robust front line, is going to be largely shredded. Worth noting the armor values are amusingly not that high yet, as the Glacial Shroud is just completed on the side of Gragas, but
there's a Warden's Mail on Linderong. They need it.
The healing reduction is actually very relevant for the team of ROX Tigers, so it's still not terrible, but perhaps not the highest damage yield. Freak is always big on the Infinity Edge early, and this is definitely a game where Infinity Edge would have been a lot more damage than his choice of itemization.
We'll just slow down the pace of the game here after Bang's unfortunate death. Might have another one soon. Walks around, gets the Ash Arrow in onto Linderong as the Dominus gets popped. And now he's going to be peeling back. Knows he's in a bad spot. Might have to flash out of here. Hook comes through. He hasn't cast it yet. There we go. QSS is off that Death Sense. Get himself out to safety in the meantime. Faker finishing off that Cloud Drake. We'll make it a 2-2 as far as the stack count goes. And he's just going to keep pushing up that bottom lane. Elder Dragon going to be the next one that spawns. Bang stays alive in the end.
Bang taking the sacrificial lamb approach, giving up his flash for a Cloud Drake. Not sure if that's worth, but regardless, Faker is just doing Faker things, which very often does represent the split push in a side lane. End result is that he will end up, honestly, having pretty low kill participation numbers, just like we saw from the graphic in Game 1 of Pawn being very much low on the kill participation, but that's because you see where he's parked. Much like Crown. Crown and Faker spend a lot of time in the side lanes picking up farms so that regardless of how laning phase goes, he can be team fight ready and with good item spikes.
Yeah, just at 50% at the moment. 6 out of that 12. But you can see here, SKT just completely commanding the jungle at the moment. Last couple buffs have been taken away by Blank, and this one is going to follow that path. Seraph's Embrace has been completed for Faker. Looks like now seeking that Void Staff with that blasting one in the inventory. Could change things up a little bit. You never know really where you want to go.
And again,
I would expect the Magic Pen.
And again, the take-home message for fans is remember that, what, 15 minutes ago? Well, that one I didn't need to remind, but remember 15 minutes ago, Rift Herald used to take an inner top lane turret I don't think the minion wave has ever been past halfway in the top lane since that point. They've never been able to get any advantages from it, whereas the Kog'Maw being behind has been the largest factor for ROX Tigers being unable to pick the fights they drafted for. They have a lot of frontline, they have a lot of engage, but with Songyun short of items, they could never really pull the trigger on the engage, and now the control ward line moves forward from SKT. Even the jungle camps, blue and red, are being contested. They're probably never going to get the fight they're looking for, as everyone's rushing for the cute Pugmore. I'm not going to get him.
Yep, nope. His owner said you're not allowed to pet him. Bit of a biter.
His bite seems pretty soft in this. It's pretty tame.
It's a nibble. He's still teething.
I think he's gnawing at things rather than any sort of bite. SKT, again, pushing up the vision line. This is the sort of Baron vision we like to strive to see from the teams at the bottom, but so rarely get. Cassiopeia going back for another item buy. Feels like Baron will be on the menu basically off spawn. 45 seconds to that, and I hear your greeting. That means that the Void Staff is completed for Faker, and anyone who looked like they're going to be pretty tanky to Faker, even with the Adaptive Helm, Mickey is going to start struggling for that Cassiopeia damage.
Nearly 2,000 gold up over Mickey. Putting him in a very poor spot because he's not nearly as tanky as he would like to be. Members of SKT have been fed too much gold.
He's at 3 items, so this is probably going to be the strongest he will be in a long time.
Yeah, Rage Blade completed.
He's on the Rage Blade hype train. Was when he innovated the on-hit build. That was the last time Kog'Maw was in meta.
Yeah. Now
a big fan of a Rage Blade 3rd. May still go for Infinity Edge as a 4th or 5th item, but he's hit his item timing finally. Can ROX Tigers find the 50-50 fight they're looking for, though, as the vision advantage is very much on the side of SKT. Shen in the bot lane, level 18 already. Things certainly got better for Untara after being a bit of a struggle early.
Starting to sweep their way through that jungle are the ROX Tigers to try to regain some control. Baron has spawned. SKT maybe looking for a pick. Try to start this one up. Big push coming forward into the top lane. Pink's coming out. They know that Songyun's waiting in the brush. They want to go for this one. They might have their eyes on Bang, but he's going to go ahead and kite back.
He suspects they're in the brush, doesn't actually catch them with the Hawk shot. We'll just choose to back away. And the calm phase of this game feels like the next team fight goes SKT's way, may actually herald the end of the game. But the wave clear is good on the side of ROX Tigers, so while red buffs and blue buffs are being contested, Baron buff hasn't been started, and the game does stall further the side of ROX Tigers.
Approaching 35 minutes. So decent holdout from these guys, despite the fact that they've been in a deficit for quite some time now. They haven't really been clawing their way back in. It's been a steady increase for SKT overall.
It's key, trying to get a pick. Strong initiation from ROX, but a lot of it pretty transparent. Getting a ward advantage makes things like the death sentence and even the cask a bit more reliable for engage. Predictably, Faker in a side lane, picking up farm, Shen and Renekton, having a wet noodle fight in the bot lane. Waiting for the first Ash Arrow to really force something, but for now, there's been quite a lot of parity on the Rift, which we didn't necessarily expect 35 minutes into ROX Tigers versus SKT Game 1.
Yeah, definitely not. But I mean, ROX, they started off the game very well, and that has kind of helped set them up for this hold that they've got going on for them as they just try to stack items in onto Songyun.
He's got a BF sword on the way to the Infinity Edge. Could even be the Makuro Scimitar. Oh. First, as
sweep coming through, the pings are coming out.
Ready for that fight.
Bang is not there, so there's not as much damage in onto the Baron. Scrying Plant will reveal this. SKT seems like they want to peel off. The TP's now coming through as Linderong comes in on the front side of the fight, looking for Bang to lock him down. Instead goes straight in onto Blank, dashes over the wall, looking for Wolf, just trying to find one squishy member of SK Telecom. Doesn't find really any for the kill.
And SKT just have Untara walk up, doesn't use Standing Light, doesn't teleport, and our teleport advantage is there for SKT. They turn on Galio.
Ash Arrow comes down, and he is just getting melted down. The shield hits, but it might not be enough to keep him alive. Dark Passage takes him out, but Mickey, he goes back forward and straight into the face of Blank, where Faker and Bang are waiting with the damage to finish him off. Artillery from the Pug Maul nearly kills the Ashe, but just still can't quite find it. Pick opening here for SKT, but they're pretty weakened, and it seems like they don't want to contest this Baron yet. ROX, in the meantime, are starting this up, but Faker's down over at the Elder Dragon.
And not spotted in vision, but just smart of ROX Tigers to start the Baron, force the positioning. Faker gets the call, they're like, hey, they don't know you're there, but it's a tussle between the two.
It's a game of chicken. Faker not sure what he should do. Seems like he's going to commit the roaming back up here to try to contest this Baron. It's down to about half HP as SKT starts poking their faces in here. That sentence connects, the box comes down blank, knocked over to the side, still has not died, and Songyun, so low on the backside of the fight, has to kite his way out of here. The flashes coming through, Sonic Wave not going to connect. The Drung just gets slowed up, but the roots will not hit as he takes that blast cone over the wall. SKT still on the hunt. Enchanted Crystalline Arrow nearly off cooldown. If they can get the slow up, that could be it. That sentence in on the Faker, pops that Seraph's Embrace shield, keeps him alive, and he takes down Songyun in the end. Untara coming through with the Stand United to help out. Now Linderon going for a big ride, but he's taking Blank along with him and will take him down as the kill comes through from Mighty Bear. Ashe Arrow connects, but out of mana is Bang. Couldn't quite get into position, and Faker's not there to follow up with the damage. So after a massive scuffle back and forth from the Elder Dragon to the Baron, SKT put a couple extra kills on the board, but nobody gets an objective.
Yeah, Mickey was dead this whole time. The hook comes in onto Lee Sin. No kill is confirmed. Songyun falls so low in the back line. Then Untara starts to get kited. So the fight could have gone either way. Faker only now grouping with his team, but getting a single pick proved so difficult. However, SKT, they had very clear target selection, weren't interested in killing Thresh. They knew if Songyun dies, a 5v5 almost certainly doesn't go against them. Hogmore turns around when he sees the miss on the Petrifying Gaze, but is still standing in the Miasma, does go down first. Yeah, it was a huge ride by Blank there. Wasn't Lee Syndrome, just ended up being particularly amusing by the end. 1-for-1 means no one can turn on to Baron, and now Faker, he finds his true nemesis once again.
Yeah. Well, Blank's body told him yes, but now Faker, he might have to rethink this. He'll be taking this faster than ROX is currently taking the Baron, but now with Songyun walking over, that might change. We'll see. He's going to finish this one out. The rest of SKT getting ready to push in here for the contest. Blank not in the pit, will not be able to get the smite away. Now he's going to be targeted out, dashes away with the safeguard to keep himself alive, and Tara flayed back in. Goes low, has to Shadow Dash out to safety.
It's Faker.
Sun comes through, but now Faker is arriving. This is going to be that double Elder Dragon buff coming through. Mickey goes back in with the Justice Punch. Massive taunt. Just trying to buy time for the rest of his team. And it seems like SKT will let them go. They deny one Baron buff, get the Elder Dragon for themselves. Can they get more?
Very peculiar that they kept opting into. It felt like Faker had confidence that his team would be able to dissuade ROX from ending the Baron. But in both cases, ROX this time had vision in the area, knew that Faker was there, got the full confirmation when the Rift Herald was completed, and made the smart choice to finish the Baron, take the smite, and the game extends past 40 minutes. And while it still feels like SKT, they're growing a gold league, 8,000 at 38 minutes gets less and less important. Also, Songyun gets closer to 6-item Kog'Maw.
Yeah. He's got to be nearing that. Haven't been able to see.
He's been on this items for a while, so I feel like he's picking up minion waves and going for a straight Infinity Edge buy very soon.
Seems very likely.
He's calling off for an Renekton, so it feels like he's probably bot lane minion wave away from Infinity Edge, which is going to be a significant spike.
Well, Mickey's got a couple hats. Adaptive Helm and that Abyssal.
Abyssal's mask. Abyssal mask, there we go.
Still kind of it's something you wear on your head.
It's true. I'm not disagreeing with you, Achilles, on that one.
He's wearing the mask under the helm, I suppose.
It does mean that so much damage has to be dumped if you fight front to back, which means taking down the front line. Cassiopeia will have an exercise in frustration taking down Renekton and Galio specifically. The double Adaptive Helm being complete. And Galio has gone for the I'm going to initiate a couple of times build. Going for the Gargoyle Stoneplate as well. 2,000 gold on this Kog'Maw, so super close to that Infinity Edge that he desperately needs.
Well, for now, SK Telecom not giving up a single turret. That bottom outer, the key target for ROX Tigers with this Baron buff, eluding them so far. This Elder Dragon buff, though, is about to expire. SKT will be fighting Baroned up ROX Tigers members without it.
Watching that buff bar right now, just about to time out. Yep, there it is.
There we go. Whereas Baron Still has about 25% ready to go on it, but still ROX. Not sure if they'll really be able to net themselves anything with this.
Kind of surreal to see the game extending. SKT's been good at completing games a lot earlier. Right now, the vision game has started to slow down from them. Not a lot of advanced vision on either sides of the jungle. Pushing waves, but not much more than that. Infinity Edge is complete by Songyun. So the 5v5 now, that kind of had an air of inevitability 20 minutes ago, is starting to get a little bit less sure when it comes to access to the backline. Blank is really the only one from SKT that can skirt past the strong front line and get to Songyun, barring some significant misplay. Standing gold on the map, goodbye to the last outer turret of the game. See what SKT want to do. Once again, Faker in a side lane, and ROX Tigers, they're just trying to push with Baron and get multiple objectives. But speaking of multiple objectives, SKT are not recalling.
Yeah, they say screw it. Screw this inner turret here in the top lane. They want the in-hit, but they might be pace racing ROX Tigers for it.
Mickey can walk up and do some wave clear, but they will lose mid lane inhibitor.
Bot being taken now. As Faker does arrive at the bottom side of the map to try to hold on to this, and ROX, they might just have to concede.
Really want to pick it up with the W duration up. Songyun can get free hits onto the inhibitor.
He is firing away, and Faker hasn't really found the in yet, but have to try to delete him.
Interrupt.
The comes down yet. Untara gonna get interrupted, goes dangerously low. Faker tries to finish him off, and he gets him in the end. Songyun gets taken down. That sentence back in onto Faker, but he is just firing away, finishing off Key. He'll walk forward, trying to maybe get a few desperate last hits in onto that inhib, but it's a far cry from going down. In the meantime, SK Telecom coming up the kill on the top side of the map as Linderong falls. Key is going for a bit of a walk, but 2 inhibs going to be broken, and maybe just the end of the game because Songyun is dead for 40 more seconds, and Bang is full HP in the base.
Under pressure, ROX Tigers wilt as Key cannot back, stuck in the enemy base, might have to execute himself just to end his suffering, but Achilleos, they just ignored the fact that Faker ignored 2 members and just killed Songyun straight up. No peel, just dies. And that means also the hopes of the ROX Tigers die with it.
Well, 15 seconds here. They might not be able to finish off this game yet. Bang firing away into Mighty Bear, who's still very tanky on the Gragas. They get the 1 Nexus turret, but they will be exiting the base. Faker brings up the bottom wave. We'll be looking for that final outer or inner turret. Final turret outside of the base.
To understand how Faker got free access to the MVP of the ROX Tigers comp, the VIP, which is the Kog'Maw sitting at 6 items. Just let Cassiopeia run up to him. Didn't seem like they could choose between peeling for the Kog'Maw and killing that inhibitor, as I see you still sniggering about Key's misfortune in the base. Watch the replay. Songyun here, remember, he does everything.
I'm laughing at Songyun.
He's the one sieging. He's the one that needs to be safe. Great interrupt from Key, but he uses everything to interrupt the Shen, and so Songyun just dies. Sure, he could have gone on a ride with the Dark Passage, but would have died anyway. They just would have turned in that direction, and they cannot afford to just let their Kog'Maw, that little pug, die for free. And Mickey and Linderong doing their best wave clear in the face of multiple members, and Faker just leaves Linderong to have endless suffering.
You mean Key?
Yes, Key. My bad.
Linderong died. His suffering was very short, actually. Bang made certain of that. But now Super Creep's pushing in the top and mid sides of the map. 45 seconds on that Baron. So much pressure inside of the base here for the ROX Tigers that they have to get cut through in order to contest.
And recall that they didn't get the inhibitor, and Songyun gave up his life, so it was a double whammy for the side of ROX Tigers, and 2 inhibitors down for the SKT side of things. A big trade up from them.
They didn't have a ward on the inhib, but it actually just expired, so no chance of a TP play to try to backdoor that one. But even then, would it really have been worth it?
These are the things that both teams will be left to ponder. And Tara just bringing up a minion wave. No action between the Crocodile and the Ninja at this point in the game. Songyun was hoping to at least poke away the Banshee Veil, but no dice. There it is.
All right, well, Baron is up. Gets started by SK Telecom immediately, but they will peel back. The plan's keeping it leash, at least for the moment. They want to stick in onto this one. The healing is coming through as Faker goes back in. Plenty of damage with this Cassiopeia, and they just need to gate out Mighty Bear if they can keep him away from the pit. Sun comes through, Baron going low, and he has to take the Dark Passage out, so Baron will be conceded over to SKT.
Super clean stuff from the side of SKT. At the same time, Ontara walked up just to move the minion wave in mid lane with his newfound Baron buff. He'll back away. He'll be just by his final item.
Plenty of ways to join in with the rest of the team, and it's going to be a Randuin's Omen for him, so just really making sure that Songyun can't get anywhere close or can't get away, whichever it is.
I mean, Shen is usually attempt to taunt and then kind of have to have the walk of shame moving back because doesn't really do anything else in the fight. But in this case, he's got Thorn Mail and he takes less damage from crit, so at least he won't die making that walk away.
Siege now beginning
Teleport
TP
used.
very deep in from the backside here. Hook comes in onto Blank, has a Guardian Angel, but he takes a lot of damage now. Linderong arriving here with the hero's entrance. Wolf being targeted out, goes low, but has the shields to keep alive at least for the moment because Songyun hasn't been able to get into a spot to really fire off with this Cogmaw. Blank going low, that last R not going to connect in. I think he finds the taunt, but still might be going down, and Tara walks in front of him to block the Justice Punch, making sure he can't get away. They get rid of him, and that is so much of ROX Tigers' control in these team fights taken away. And they might just be losing that third inhib as well unless they can throw one hell of a Hail Mary. Mighty Bear goes forward, has a multi-man belly bop, but he'll get locked down. The root comes through from Wolf, and he'll find the killing blow. Faker still firing away at the Twin Fangs, pops the shield, goes forward, looks for Songyun. Songyun does kill the Cassiopeia as he kites back, but still needs so much more to stop this game from going down. It just looks like they're not going to find it. The Nexus turret finally falls. Nexus targeted out. 47 minutes on the clock. Blank going in for the final kill to complete the ace. Songyun will die. Beautifully done by him at the end. SKT, longer than you might have anticipated, do win in game one, and Blank is now 16-0.
Yeah, they kind of toiled in that particular game. They found it difficult to close. Strong wave clear on the side of ROX Tigers, and SKT respecting how strong the 4-5 item Cogmaw could be in team fights. But when ROX Tigers actually had to make decisions in the heat of the moment around the inhibitor, choosing between peeling for the Cogmaw and potentially taking the inhibitor, got nothing, lost 2 inhibitors. And in general, in those team fights, you saw Bang just skirting on the edge of the taunt range so many times, killing whoever the frontliner is. No one super tanky against 6-item Cassiopeia and 6-item Ashe. Fighting front to back, SKT found those advantages, and ROX Tigers, it's an honorable loss, but again, another loss is the more operative term there. Goes as expected, but longer and more toiling, like I mentioned. SKT will want to tighten it up for game 2.
They do. We'll see if they are going to do just that. Something tells me that they will, because they'll also be playing over onto the blue side. So another red side win there for SK Telecom. And now they get to play on the easier side of the map. Maybe we see some swaps coming through. Perhaps. I don't think that we will. I think we'll still see Untara and Blank, but you never know with Peanut and Huni waiting in the back room. Maybe even Sky.
Is it better to hide Peanut and Huni, or better to have them come out and put in a big performance before their next big ask in the match? Because it'd be a big surprise if they started, if they don't play today.
If anyone can weigh those options, you'd have to put your faith in Coma. So we'll see what he cooks up for the roster, for the draft, as we get ready to go into a commercial break and have the players get prepped. ROX Tigers, nice performance, an honorable loss, as you put it, Papa Smithy, but they need so much more if they're going to climb the standings. Because right now, that 7th place spot, not looking terrible, but not looking good either.